What's going on, guys? Welcome back. I apologize that this video is coming out very late. I actually was in New York City over Memorial Day weekend watching Monaco and the Indy 500 for that matter on the road, and I did not have the opportunity to sit down and do this video, so we're going to do this very quickly. We're going to hit on our race quick hits, our weekend winners and losers, go over the predictions that I made before the weekend began, and then we'll wrap things up by looking at what's next here in F1. But this weekend was Monaco. It is the crown jewel of the F1 calendar, as it so says. And while it may be that to the drivers, I think we all got to experience the absolute worst edition of Monaco, at least when it comes to how big the current era of cars are and how difficult it is to overtake. We saw a lap one incident that meant everyone was doing basically 75 plus laps on one set of tires, and I think we all knew how it was going to go from there. But let's kick things off now and go through this race with our race quick hits. But of course, before we get started, if you enjoy F1 or sim racing content for that channel, go ahead, subscribe down below if you haven't already. I upload a lot of content in both genres, and particularly enjoy our F1 weekend predictions and recap videos. It's an opportunity for us to connect on what we saw over the weekend and talk about what we saw and what we liked and didn't like. So subscribe below if you haven't already, as well as leave me a comment below what you thought of Monaco. I think we all kind of are going to be on the same page, at least when it comes to this weekend's edition of Monaco, but I'm always interested to see what you guys have to say, so let me know down in the comment section below. And as we go on through the video, if you enjoy it at any moment, leave a like rating. It really helps me out, and we can try and grow this little community we're fostering over on the channel. But let's jump into our race quick hits. Obviously, we're going to do this very quickly because it has been a couple of days since the race ended, and we're going to start obviously with Charles Leclerc. Rapid all weekend, puts it on pole position, and you can see the hope rise in Charles Leclerc fandom, and I think we all simultaneously were very excited for him, but also dreading the inevitable Monaco curse that would drag him back down to the pits of despair that we had seen all so often over the course of his career in Monaco. But alas, thank you to a particular set of drivers who really ensured that Charles was going to finish at the front, and so he did. Led from lap 1 to checkered flag, Charles Leclerc finally gets the monkey off his back and not only finishes on the podium, but wins his home Grand Prix, becoming the first Monegasque to win the Monaco Grand Prix in 93 years. Yes, you read that right, 93 years. And I think we all saw how much that meant to him. We heard what he had to say. We heard the absolute incredible commentary as he brought it home. And we saw exactly what it meant not only to him, but to Ferrari, to the Prince of Monaco, and everyone else involved along the way. It was an incredible result for Charles, and while the race might have been one of the duller that we've ever seen, I think by the time the race ended, I don't think anyone was too disappointed, at least when it came to who ended up crossing the line in first. So Charles, congratulations from the deepest pits of my heart. Congratulations. It must have been an enormous load lifted off your shoulders crossing that line after 78 laps of your home Grand Prix that has only been negative for you in your life. Finally, Charles, Monaco loved you back, so congratulations, Charles. Moving on to, we'll go one position down, Oscar Piastri. A very strong weekend for Oscar, who has been on a very good run of form lately, finishing P2 on the podium for the first time here in 2024, and was very quick all weekend long. I think I saw that if he had put all of his optimal sector times together in his one qualifying lap there in Q3, he would have put it on pole. So Oscar is showing tremendous pace right now, really gelling with McLaren, and you're seeing the results of it now as he continues to be very impressive over the, as we get into the meat and potatoes of this season. And I, for one, can't wait to see what he does next, but basically a P2 from start to finish in Monaco. Definitely something to add to the old trophy cabinet. Definitely a very good weekend for Oscar. The last big talking point that I'm going to cover in a later section, if for those of you who know, but there's obviously the other big talking point in Monaco outside of Charles Leclerc is the lap 1 incidents, plural incidents. The first of which involved both Haas's Sergio Perez, and then the later involving Esteban Ocon and his teammate Pierre Gasly. We'll begin with a brief look at the double Haas plus Sergio Perez incident. We saw a disqualification from qualifying from both Haas's. Their rear wing tolerances, I believe, for how wide the wing flap could open was outside of the allowable amount, and so they were originally forced to start from the pit lane, but for some reason or another, they were allowed to start P19 and 20 on the grid. And then on the run up towards Casino, Kevin Magnussen pokes his nose in a little bit on Sergio Perez. Sergio obviously doesn't leave the space. Kevin doesn't back out, and the rest is history. We're going to cover that a little bit more in another section coming up very soon, but I do also want to talk about the Esteban Ocon Pierre Gasly incident. Esteban attacking his own teammate going towards the final corner before the tunnel section. Makes the dire mistake of not only attacking your teammate in Monaco, but also washing wide and basically putting Pierre in a place where he has nowhere to go. Effectively, what we saw, I believe it was a couple of seasons ago with Fernando Alonso and Lewis Hamilton, where they just got tire over tire and Esteban got launched well into the air, coming down hard onto the track surface. Thankfully, he was okay. His car, unfortunately, obviously not, and that he rounded out our 4 DNFs here in Monaco. We saw a lot happen over the course of this race, including a lot of talk from the Alpine team and the higher ups saying that there could potentially be dire consequences for Esteban moving forward. So it'll be interesting to see what comes from this. Let me know down below what you think is going to happen to Esty Bessie after he had a pretty poor run of form on lap 1. Then I think other than that covers pretty much everything. But I will mention other than that, the Indy 500 was an absolute banger. Joseph Newgarden going back to back with a final lap turn 3 overtake on Pato O'Ward to steal victory from the Aero McLaren driver. It was an incredible race. Obviously, it was a bit of touch and go there for a little bit with weather rolling in, but it was an absolutely fantastic race. It really goes to show what we could have on that day with a good Monaco Grand Prix, immediately followed up by an Indy 500 that just always seems to deliver. You saw the emotion from Pato O'Ward, for those of you who did see it, how devastated he was that he lost the lead on that final lap. It really felt like this year the aero setup that teams got for Indy were unbelievable when it came to those overtakes, and any other year taking the lead onto the last lap more than probably assures victory. But once again, Pato just not able to get it done, and he was absolutely distraught by the results, and his time will come. I do believe that you can't keep putting yourself in these good positions and not getting the result eventually. But nonetheless, heartbreak for Pato there. But man, Indy 500 banger this year. All right, let's quickly run through our weekend winners and losers. We'll start with our weekend winner, and could it be anyone else than Charles Leclerc? We don't need to go on this too much. I think I covered a lot of it in our race quick hits, but Charles, rapid all weekend long. Only session he didn't top was FP1, but this was a weekend where it really felt like everyone was just kind of waiting for the other shoe to drop, but it never did. And then Charles come home to finish his home, not only finish his home Grand Prix, which is not always a guarantee as we've seen in his career, but to finally win. Charles, once again, from the deepest depths of my soul, congratulations. You could see how much it meant to you, and I'm sure it must have been an incredible feeling. Moving on to our weekend losers, and you'll notice the inflection on the losers, because for the first time I'm actually giving a group loser tag for this weekend. Obviously, it's all of our DNF quadrangle of both Haas's, Sergio Perez, and Esteban Ocon. It's Monaco, guys. We know that qualifying is everything. Most of you were nowhere near the points except for Esteban, who really just put both him and his teammate in an impossible situation that was never going to end well. For Kevin Magnussen and Sergio Perez, obviously have not been on quite a good run of form lately. Kevin has been putting it nicely, menace so far this season, and this is just another thing to add on to onto the tally. It's amazing to me that the stewards didn't really take a look further into that incident, but you know how they are with lap 1, turn 1s, and Monaco, sometimes it just comes with more explosive dangers than many other tracks. Nico, unfortunately, was just caught up in that incident, obviously, the narrow run up towards Casino. He almost squeezed through, but was tagged by Sergio on the way around, and that was all she wrote. And then obviously Esteban, we kind of covered a little bit in our quick hits section. Attacking your teammate at a track that is never on. You wash wide, give your teammate damage, who still ended up scoring a point. Good job, Pierre. And DNFing yourself on your teammate. There's been a lot of talk from Alpine about potential replacement for Canada for Esteban. I don't foresee it going that far, but also who knows. So guys, stop it. You earned my first group weekend losers. Let's try not to do it again, okay? All right, let's wrap this thing up with our weekend predictions and how we fared. We'll start with my pick for biggest positive surprise. I went for Yuki Tsunoda, and it looked like early in the weekend that this could be on, but he has been on an incredible run of form this past few races, and really the last, well into the end of last season, beginning of this season. But unfortunately, while he did end up finishing in the points, I don't think technically it's high enough to qualify for me in that one, or at least what I had in mind. So no point for me there. Moving on to my pick for biggest disappointment, I went with Sergio Perez. Obviously, this one definitely comes in because not only did Sergio DNF on lap 1, he qualified in P18, I believe it was, on his own merits. Unlike last year where he crashed in Q1, this one he just could not, I don't know if it was he couldn't find clean air or he just could not get the tires into a working window, but in a Red Bull, getting knocked out in Q1 and being out-qualified by Logan Sargent is not a good look for you, Sergio. And then the DNF on lap 1 obviously puts the icing on the cake, and that is a point for me. Moving on to my qualifying in top 3, I do get a point of 3 total possible here, thanks to a Max Verstappen not even being anywhere near pole position. I had Charles Leclerc P2, so that is a half point for being included in my top 3, but in the wrong position. And then Oscar Piastri, I was on the Piastri train, I have been for the last couple of weeks. He's just been on an incredible run of form, and so he nabs me a half point there. I was just a 1 spot off for both of them, and it's really, really unfortunate. Moving on to my race podium, I had a Max Verstappen win, obviously did not come true. I had an Oscar Piastri P2 and a Charles Leclerc P3, so I do totally 1.5 points possible for the podium, but I went the wrong way. I did correctly pick Oscar to finish P2, but I thought it was going to come to the detriment of Charles Leclerc and not to the detriment of Max Verstappen. So obviously we had a Charles win, an Oscar P2, and then a Carlos Sainz P3. So 1.5 out of 3 points for me there. And then my one crazy prediction was that Charles was finally going to break the Monaco curse and finish on the podium. And not only did he finish on the podium, he only went and won the whole dang thing. So out of all of the points possible, I end up taking home 4.5 points this weekend, moving my grand total up to 33, taking a resounding lead in our predictions championship. You can see the updated points here. Obviously, there's me with 33. There is British with 29, vaulting up into second place after a tough weekend from Sunil 40, who now sits on 28.5. F1 Inferno with 16.5. Wolf, who decided not to take part this week, is still on 4.5, and then Andrew there with 13 points of his own, flying back up the bottom of the order. But guys, what's next for Formula One? In a short 2 weeks from now, F1 heads to Canada to race around the streets of Montreal. Last year, we saw a Max Verstappen, Fernando Alonso, and Lewis Hamilton podium. But the only question we have now is who will we see this week? Let me know what you think down in the comment section below, and you'll be on the lookout for our predictions video that is going to come up on the week leading up to that race. And as always, if you're interested in joining our little predictions championship, you can hit the link down below in the description, join the Discord, and then every week leading up to a Grand Prix, I'll make a call for predictions and we'll talk about them and see who can really cook up some good predictions then. But guys, that is going to wrap this one up for me here. Once again, I apologize, this came a little late. I did it quite literally as fast as I could, and at the end of the day, was it really a race worth spending that much time on? I'm not quite so sure. But Canada here in a couple of weeks. I'm really looking forward to it. But guys, that's going to wrap it up for me here. Subscribe if you haven't. Turn on notifications so you don't miss a single upload. And that's going to do it for me here, guys. And I'll see you in the next one.